Yes, that is true in everything. You want to, this is the dependent origination formula.
Yes, Bhante.
And that is, you mention, you name anything. When it exists, something else also exists at the same time. When it disappears, other thing also disappears at the same time. That is, you remember that the simile of two bamboo sticks, two bundles of bamboo sticks. You remember that simile that
Yes,
Venerable
Bhante.
Sariputta has given? Yeah. When two bamboo bundles of, they have to be bundles of bamboo sticks, both from the top support each other. And when one bamboo sticks falls, other also falls. That is the simile we got to remember. It is also very significant to remember he used, instead of using any other bundle of sticks, he used bundle of bamboo sticks. Using the bundle of bamboo stick means that bamboo inside is empty, hollow. There's nothing. Similarly, then bamboo also is called tachasara. Tacha means skin. Sara means essence. Bamboo plants, the skin itself is the body, and inside empty. Similarly, mentality and materiality are without any substance or any permanent entity. In order to show emptiness of mentality and materiality, he used the bundles of bamboo sticks. In a bundle, there are several bamboos. Similarly, in materiality, there is 4 elements, and then in materiality, there are contact, feeling, perception, thought, and attention. So they all put together, make it a bundle. And these two are suspended from the top. That is consciousness. So they all, when one falls, other falls. Now let us put that into our daily experience in our daily life. You mention any emotion, anger, as an example. You can use any emotion you like. When anger arises, pain arises. When anger disappears, pain disappears. When greed arises, pain arises. When greed disappears, pain disappears. When confusion arises, ignorance arises. When confusion disappears, ignorance disappears. Like this, they are always a pair. When one exists, for instance, when you breathe, sensation arises with the breath. When breath stops, that sensation stops. Like that, whatever you find arising, that arises along with the other. Birth arises, death arises. Birth ceases, death ceases. Birth arises, impermanence arises. Birth ceases, impermanence ceases. Birth arises, sickness arises. Birth does not arise, sickness does arise. Birth arises, death arises. When birth ceases, death also ceases. So anything you mention, they always come as a pair. One act and the other exist at the same time. Therefore, in the Paticca formula, in Udana Pali, Bodhi Vagga, first 3 chapters are on Paticca. You can see this formula. Imasmin sati idang hoti. Imasa uppada idang uppajiri. Imasmin asati idang nahoti. Imasa nirodha idang nirujjati. This formula is given there. So you remember, you bring up any example for homework, you think about it, keep asking, is it true or not? Yeah.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, we took up our entire time for answering one question. That is very important question, and we all must try to understand the deeper meaning of this formula of dependent origination. With this, let us begin our meditation practice. As usual, we begin our Metta meditation at the beginning. Every day, especially these days, this Metta practice is absolutely necessary part of our meditation. You can see the suffering of people caused by this COVID-19 is it is devastating, touching all lives irrespective of their status, and therefore we must practice this very sincerely, honestly, every day. Let us do it together. There are 7 billion people live. All of us do it together at the same time. You can see the impact on people's minds and our minds. So with this very powerful practice, we must start our meditation. Let us begin. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother who risks her own life to protect her only child, even so, towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment. Whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake, one should develop this mindfulness This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with a vision, removing desires for sensual pleasures. One comes new again to birth in the womb. You can see each and every word in this recital coming from Metta Sutta, taught by the Buddha in Pali. If we recite this with understanding, we will have even greater benefit. So we must, especially this time of our human history, going through enormous amount of pain. And then we use our mindfulness as the discourse itself mentioned. This mindfulness we should practice. That is, since everybody is suffering, everybody needs metta. Now let us take 3 deep breaths to notice the sensation of breath. Even in this breath we can see, as we breathe, we feel the breath. When we inhale, we feel inhaling. When we exhale, we feel exhaling. At the same time, we perceive the breath mentally. We become conscious of the breath. Attention to the breath is there. So all this breath, feeling, perception, attention or volitional formations and consciousness all arise as we breathe in and out, all pass away as we breathe in and out. One time, one arises with another. And this always is happening. And there we learn that nothing stays fixed. Everything is in motion, in a state of flux, changing, impermanent. When we see this, we have nothing to get excited. Everything is marked with the same impermanence. And therefore there is nothing different, nothing strange. And then when we see the same thing, we won't get bored and tired. We rather develop our insight into the reality that everything is marked with the same characteristics. And then the breath becomes calm. As breath becomes calm, it becomes subtler and subtler and subtler. While noticing this subtlety of breath, the body becomes calm, relaxed and peaceful. When the body becomes calm and relaxed and peaceful, mind naturally becomes calm, relaxed and peaceful. Then our hindrances subside. There is no agitation, excitement, restlessness, worry, doubt. We don't have doubt about any of these things because we really experience them. There is nothing compared to experience. Once you experience, nobody can deny that experience. You know you experience this. So you develop your confidence. And then when the body, mind relaxed and peaceful and calm, you gain your hindrances subside, you gain concentration. With that concentrated state of mind, you continue to pay your attention to your breathing, which is always present, going in and out. It is pure and clean, and you gain deeper insight into the reality of not existing any permanent entity. That is called selflessness, which you never see otherwise. Only when you pay attention to your own experiences, you realize that they all, without any exception, go on changing, changing, changing. With this, let us continue our practice for the remaining parts. Dukkha pattaca nidukkha bhaya pattaca nibbhaya soka pattaca nissoka hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all living beings. Once again, friends, with this, even though short practice of meditation, we have some degree of clarity, purity of our mind, with very sincere state of mind. Let us wish all those who are in pain, suffering and afflictions, all those who are in fear, uncertainty, insecurity, be free from those mental states and be very healthy and return to their very normal life in good health and continue to have their peace and happiness. With this, we want to spend a few more minutes answering your questions.
Bhante, here's a question from the Bhavana, a Bhavana community resident. Bhante, can you speak about how to abide in Yoniso Manasikara properly from the moment one wakes up until the moment one falls asleep?
Yes. Yoniso Manasikara is translated as mindful reflection. Even that needs some clarification. Yoni means the origin, source, beginning, and Manasikara means paying attention. That means pay attention to whatever arises from the moment it arises. And see the root of what arises. For instance, From the moment we wake up in the morning, if possible, look at your mind, where everything originates, everything begins, everything ceases. All dhammas, mental states, arise from the mind. Joy arises in the mind and we express it through our words and deeds. Similarly, resentment arises in the mind and we express it in thoughts, words and deeds. So we have to clean the source. Since the mind is the source of all, we have to clean the mind to make it pure so that negative states will not arise. It is easy to let unwholesome state arise, but difficult to prevent it from arising. And therefore, Yoniso means see things as they arise from the very beginning, from the very root. When we see it arising, then we can check, we can restrain, not to let that negative state arise. When we have resentment or anger, look at the mind. How unhappy you feel, experience when anger or resentment arises, then immediately become more mindful and ask, why should I let this negative state arise? I am simply wasting my time. I need more peace. I don't need negative states. I have no control over the world, nor do I have control over this body. And therefore, I must remain as much mindful as possible. Even the mindfulness may not stay too long, so we have to make a firm commitment, determination to stay with awareness of unwholesome mental state arising. So once we begin to see the arising from the root, from the beginning, from the origin, then it would become very easy for us to let it go, let it not happen, and wipe out from our mind as we normally in our casual conversation nip in the bud, and then it becomes easy. So Yoniso Manasikara is not just mindful reflection. Mindful reflection does not convey the real deep meaning of Yoniso Manasikara. So we have to see it arising. Any wholesome mental state arises from the mind. Unwholesome state arises from the mind, from the root. And we try to look at it as it arises.
Bhante, does I conscious identity, Bhante, does I conscious identify what is seen as an animal, person, etc.? Is there evidence in the Sutta Pitaka that I conscious only identifies a colorful image and that the identification as self is done by mind consciousness? Is there a clear definition to Upadaya Rupa in the Sutta Pitaka? Can this be shown without using the Abhidhamma Pitaka?
Okay. In Sutta Pitaka, the Upadaya Rupa, I don't remember seeing anywhere in Sutta Pitaka. This word is typical Abhidhamma term. And that is what I had to tell in answering this question. The essence of the question is whether this is in Sutta Pitaka or not. It is not in Sutta Pitaka. There may be some hidden place in some place, but I don't remember any mention of this in Sutta Pitaka.
Okay. Bhante, as discussed earlier, when doing metta practice, you do for all without specifically having someone in mind. What if someone who is suffering comes to your mind like a mental image?
Okay. If someone comes into your mind while one particular person, suffering person comes to your mind, let that person also put into the same large melting pot. That person is in the metta practice, there is nothing special in that person. That person may be our friends, relative, or somebody whom we know very well. And then if the mind focuses on that particular person, then you lose the whole holistic view of the practice. And therefore, at that time, you must bring the mind to the complete whole, all existing beings, as I say metaphorically, all put in one melting pot, one place, and then think all of them are similar, all of them have suffering. Perhaps you may not know that there may be another person or many other people who may suffer more than the one you remember at that moment. And therefore, your heart will be very big to include all these beings into the same practice. Okay?
Bhante, as for your talk yesterday, how does desire disguise itself as metta?
Desire disguises as metta. You think your mind becomes softer and more gentle towards one particular person. Focusing mind on one particular person means that you like that person. Liking is another name for desire. And therefore, you may think I send metta to so and so, in reality you are not sending metta to that person. You simply nourish your desire for being with the person, to associate with the person. You are nourishing the desire to for that person's well-being and happiness. And therefore you remove yourself from other suffering beings. So that will, instead of making your practice boundless, illimitable, you make your practice limited. And also, sometimes you may think of a certain person with remembering the favor you got from that person and expecting some favor in future from that person. All these are the signs and symbols, indications of your desire, which appears to you to be metta. That is how desire disguises as metta when you practice metta meditation. And that is why it is very important, and in the practice of metta also it is recommended not to focus the mind on opposite gender. That definitely arouses your desire. Or don't practice metta towards someone who is dead, because there is no recipient, living, breathing, suffering person. That person is already dead. So these are some of the limitations that we have to avoid when we practice metta.
Thank you, Bhante. I think that answered that question and the one before it. This question comes from Veronique. Buddha says, luminous is the mind, and it is defiled by incoming defilements. This implies that the defilements are outside the mind and coming into the mind. Could you please explain this, Bhante? Thank you.
Oh yes, you'll find this in that statement in Anguttara Nikaya. It is said, Pabhasiramidam Bhikkhu Chittam Tanchako Agantuke Upakilis Upakilitam Tang Asutava Putujjano Napajanati Tasma Asutava Saputujjanasa Chitta Nati. Just the opposite. That means unlearned, one who has not learned the Dhamma, does not know that the mind is luminous, but it defiles from adventitious defilements. On the other hand, someone who has learned the Dhamma, that person also knows that the mind is luminous, but it cannot be defiled by adventitious defilements, because that person will remain mindful not to let the mind be polluted. So, this statement also implies that the mind is luminous, that has to be pure. Luminosity doesn't mean pure. Anything can be luminous, like the saying goes, all that glitters is not gold. Luminosity is there, shining may be there, but it is subject to defile with adventitious defilements, and therefore don't take luminosity for granted. It has potential to be impure, unclean. Therefore, learned person means the one who has learned the Dhamma, is called Arya Savaka, noble disciple, who has learned the Dhamma, associate with good friends, like to learn Dhamma, and respect the Dhamma, always look at the mind. That is why the Buddha repeatedly said, Sakanchittang abhinnam paccayukitabbang, one must go back to one's own mind very often, every day, to see how the mind can be protected from adventitious defilements, maintain luminosity and continue its purity. Practicing purification, warding off, holding all these unwholesome states at bay. So therefore he needs mindfulness.
Bhante, this is a very quick question, and then we have time, I think, for one more. Regarding the bamboo simile you mentioned, which sutta is this in?
Well, I just skipped the name of the sutta. I can find out. I must confess, towards the end of the day, my energy, memory, all this becomes very weak. Therefore, at this moment, I don't remember. I will find it out and let you know maybe tomorrow morning if you ask me this question.
Okay, Bhante, let's try this one. If trying to cultivate concentration using breath, can you move, expand, or contract your attention between the nose, the abdomen, or the whole body breath during a single sitting?
If you want to gain concentration, I would not advise you to move your attention from object to object, place to place. I would rather encourage you to stay focusing your mind on one single object at one single place. In this case, the breath. If you stay focusing the mind on the nostrils or tip of the nose or upper lips, wherever one place you select, or focusing mind on the abdomen rising and falling, or chest rising and falling. Use one of them to gain concentration. I think the most, my favorite place I would suggest would be the nostrils, the entrance and exit of breath. Breath enters through the nostrils, exit through the nostrils. Others are secondary signs of expanding and contracting, rising and falling. All these are secondary. Primary place is the nostrils. I think you keep mind focused there. I think this is enough for tonight, and I want to say good night and continue your practice, and see you tomorrow morning.
Good night, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu.
See you.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Teruvan Saranai Bhante.